The Pulse School on realagriculture.com is brought to you by Saskatchewan Pulse Growers and Nodulator XL.
There's a lot of varieties that farmers can choose from in the seed guide. There are certainly favorites that seem to be grown a bit more than others. One of the varieties called CDC Meadow is grown the most of the yellow pea types, and CDC Striker would be probably grown the most of the greens. But there are others that might be coming up in the next few years. Lots of choices for growers. One on the yellow pea we call CDC Amarillo, and it's actually right here beside me. So this one, I think it's going to become more and more popular. This will be the first year that it's grown to any extent by farmers. Up till now, it was being multiplied by seed growers. But we see quite a good future for Amarillo. Amarillo means yellow in Spanish, and it's yielding probably 10% or 15% better than Meadow on average. So we think that will be really attractive.
So we're looking at the future already, talking about this new variety coming up. What other things is research looking into? And maybe we'll start with agronomic side of things.
Okay, agronomic side. We have to have higher yielding varieties in any crop that we're growing or that we're researching, but that's a kind of a complicated issue in terms of how do you get higher yield. So that could be due to better disease resistance, or easier to harvest, or more tolerant to the stresses, like for example this year with the heat and the drought. So those are all things that we're trying to work on. With respect to the weather conditions, one thing that I try to look for are varieties that can continue to flower a little bit longer than others despite the hot conditions or the dry conditions. And I think that's been one reason why some of our new varieties are yielding a bit better, is that they're able to, even under these hot conditions, to continue to flower a little bit longer. Of course, eventually they shut down when they've run out of water and such, but that's one way, I think, one mechanism that we're looking at. And I collaborate with a colleague, Rosalind Buchert, in our department, and her students are looking at what's going on with pea plants in hot conditions. So are they keeping their flowers on, or are they losing them? Are they keeping the pods, or are they aborting them? Is the pollen healthy, or it's getting dried out or killed?
From your own observations, what do you see as varieties that are standing out in those dry, hot conditions?
Yeah, I would say, in a sense, it is some of our newer varieties. Like Amarillo, we released a variety called Inca, INCA, and we released it because it seems to be doing better in the southern part of the prairies, where it tends to be a little bit hotter and drier. So I think that is probably a bit of the key, as to are they able to keep growing when it's warmer and drier.
So, and not all of the province or the western prairies are afflicted by the drought. What about those that have almost too much moisture?
Right. Very good question. Like much of the last 5 years or so, that's been the issue, that we've had wet conditions, and that raises a whole different set of challenges. So, for example, at the field day today, we didn't have many questions about diseases, and someone asked, have these been sprayed with a fungicide? And the answer was no, because with the dry conditions, there's less disease development. But in the last 5 years prior to this, we've dealt much more with diseases. So be it diseases that affect the above ground material, or that affect the roots. And we heard quite a bit about root rots in pea and lentil over the last 2-3 years, especially in places where farmers may have grown peas and lentils frequently in their rotation, and where they've also had quite wet conditions in those years. Then we've heard about fusariums and aphanomyces. These are two fungal diseases that have been detected in various fields, And so we can't forget about those just because 2015 happens to be a drier year. So on the research side, definitely we're doing what we can to improve our germplasm for some of those traits as well. But it's, nothing's seemingly easy in plant breeding. And so, for example, with Aphanomyces, we're using some material from the US that has moderate resistance. We're crossing that with some of our varieties like Amarillo or others that are well adapted to here. Make the cross, look at the offspring, test them with disease, throw away the ones that have more disease, keep the good ones, and so on. It takes a little while.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, looking more at the marketing side of things, what is research looking at there? And you spoke a little bit specifically about nutrition.
Yeah. We certainly like to see what we can do, at least in the medium term, the long term, on nutrition. We know that pulses are really nutritious as they are. All of these pulses that we grow in Western Canada have good nutritional value. They have a good amount of protein and slowly digestible starch, and they have fiber. They're low fat. They don't have much sugar in them. So lots of nice things that nutritionists would like. We're dabbling a bit in, can we improve them even further in terms of some of the micronutrients? So for example, can we select types that have a little bit more iron or zinc in the seeds? Lots of people in the world are low on iron in their diet. Some people are anemic. So if they can eat pulses that have a little bit greater concentration of iron or zinc, it would be an easy way, relatively easy way for them to improve their nutrition. And pulses already have probably double of iron and zinc approximately compared to cereals. So if we can increase it some more, that might be helpful.